Are we recording? We're recording. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. It's great to be back with you. I hope you are doing well. You can listen to me on Rumble and YouTube, and you can follow me on X. Please like, share, and subscribe because it does feed the AI algorithm. Lastly, please post your comments and questions below in the comment section. It'd be great to hear from you. And so let's just jump into this. Today we're going to be reading an article from the Wall Street Journal. And it is titled, "To Shrink Learning Gap, This District Offers Classes Separated by Race." So we're heading back to Jim Crow era. Great. Subtitle is "High School in Evanston, Illinois offers so-called affinity classes." Affinity is equivalent to segregated classes, which is illegal and should be illegal, in which Black and Latino students are separated from white students. Yeah, whenever I hear this, it kind of blows my mind, but I think an appropriate response, an appropriate picture to use for all of these should be water fountains, because I think water fountains are really, obviously, they're visual. They strike fear into people, and they are a part of American history that we should be most ashamed of. But at the same time, now, I don't think are there any people that are alive today that are responsible for that? And by responsible, I would say policymakers. The average person would have no power to change that policy. Matter of fact, there are probably a lot more people alive today that were responsible for getting rid of that policy than there are who passed policy to maintain that. So anyway, let's continue on with the article here. Sarah Randazzo and Douglas Belkin. Apparently, I have trouble with names. This is not new. If you listen to my previous podcasts, I have issues with names sometimes. Which, in my defense, when I was younger, I used to be pretty good with names. I don't know why I'm having issues with it now. But anyway, let's. Maybe it's an enduring quality in me. Maybe not. If you don't like it, go ahead and post your comment below that you don't like it. Make fun of me if you like. It's great. All right. So I believe this is a fairly recent, November 26, 2023. So Evanston, Illinois. We can go ahead and add Evanston, Illinois to our list of Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, California, Los Angeles, California, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yes, I'm keeping track. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to write down on my list, Evanston. I'm writing this down actually. Evanston, Illinois. Which actually I think would just be IL. I think that would be the for Illinois it's just IL, I believe. So let's start the article here. School leaders in this college town just north of Chicago have been battling a sizable academic achievement gap between Black, Latino, and white students for decades. I would just call all of them American students. There's an achievement gap between American students. Article continues here. So a few years ago, the school district decided to try something new at the high school. Classrooms voluntarily separated by race. Now, that would not have been my try something new. I would not have done that. As a solution to the discrepancies between the different groups of Americans, me personally, I would not have tried this. This actually wouldn't have even been on my list. I would not have even thought of it. There is an educational discrepancy between different groups. Maybe we should split them up by race. That seems very much like a George Lincoln Rockwell solution. If you don't know who George Lincoln Rockwell is, I would please ask that you go put the name into Google or DuckDuckGo or Brave, whichever one you use, and go ahead and read about George Lincoln Rockwell. Because a lot of this sounds like George Lincoln Rockwell applications to me. I'll be honest with you. Like when I read this stuff, it's like, oh, that's something George Lincoln Rockwell would approve of. And generally, anything that George Lincoln Rockwell approves of, I don't approve of. Okay, maybe he likes lasagna. I like lasagna, but that would obviously is something completely different. Even racist, whatever, whatever the words I need to use on YouTube or Rumble to get around being struck down. Whatever the word I need to use. But that's what that guy is. So if you want to go ahead and look that up, read more about George Lincoln Rockwell. All right. So nearly 200 Black and Latino students at Evanston Township High School signed up this year for math classes and a writing seminar intended for intended for students of the same race taught by a teacher of color. Excuse me a second. By the way, that number 200 is 200 too high. That number should be 0. That number should be 0. So if I read this sentence again, I'll add what I think it should be. No students at Evanston Township High School signed up this year for math classes and a writing seminar intended for students of the same race. None. That would be the appropriate response for this. The fact that they have 200 students on top of the idea of segregation is worrying. That should worry you, because it worries me. To me, that's going back. We always hear this term going back, right? Because here's the thing. Let's say you take 10 of those students and 10 of the white students, and they go off to combat in some foreign country. They all blow up the same. The enemy does not care. To them, they're all Americans with their American swag. And if you've been overseas, you know that's a term they call it. That's a term for us. They refer to us as you got that American swag. Right? They don't even look at us by color. They think we all look alike because we have that swag. Anyway, so let's continue the article here. These optional so-called affinity classes are designed to address the achievement gap by making students feel more comfortable in class. District leaders have said, particularly in advanced placement courses that historically have enrolled few Black and Latino students. Okay, so for a couple things here, a couple observations. One, why would they not feel comfortable around their fellow students of European descent, right? Their fellow American students. Why would they not feel comfortable? First question. Second question, where are the Asian students? Why are they not included in this? I see this a lot in data. They're always comparing like black and white, and then sometimes they'll throw in Latino for a little flavor. I love my Latinos, right? Great flavor in food. That's why I use that. So anyway, but seriously, where are, and I am serious about that, by the way. I do love my Latinos. I love my American brothers and sisters, no matter where they're from. They're my blood. But where are our Asian brothers and sisters? As Cornel West would say, where are our Asian brothers and sisters in this? Nowhere to be found. Mysteriously, right? It's a Scooby-Doo mystery. So let's continue here. And the article quotes: "Our black students are, for lack of a better word, at the bottom, consistently still." Yes, it's true, especially young black men. Especially young black men. From the data I've seen from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the graduation rates for uh, American women of African descent, maybe we could use black, that term doesn't seem to offend people very much, but they're Americans. So their graduation rates are going up at the college level. Degrees obtained. Remember, for every 100 men that get a degree at the university undergrad, there's 130 women that obtain a degree. And the number for women is actually going up, and the number for men, I believe, is going down. Uh, so, so let's parse this out a little bit here. This is when I say our black students are, for lack of a better word, at the bottom consistently still. That they're using the entire group, and men and women in this case. Oh, so my point before was young black men do not graduate at those same rates, not even close. Matter of fact, young black men have the highest unemployment rate, and I believe they have the lowest graduation rate for bachelor's degrees. So those two things aren't the same, right? Black women and black men, those two things are not the same at all. One is consistently at the bottom, and the other is actually increasing for black women. So not the same. So that's not a fair statement. All right. So the quote continues here, and they are being outperformed consistently. Yes, young black men are. Monique Parsons, Evanston School Board Vice President, said at a November board meeting, "It's not good." Yeah, not good for young black men. Again, two different groups. All right, so let's continue here. School districts across the country have sometimes struggled to find ways to boost the performance of Black and Latino students, who nationwide tend to enroll in fewer advanced classes and score lower on standardized tests than white students. Okay. So then the question is why? What is happening with those discrepancies? Why is that the case? So from the left, you'll get the, well, white supremacy, institutional racism, all the things like you can't really put your hands on, you can't really test it, right? It's a bunch of assumptions. It's kind of wiggly. It's like, well, what do I do with that? And on the right says, well, it's, two-parent households, which, by the way, there's probably some validity to that. I actually would agree with that. But then the question is, that's not really the world we live in anymore. So what would be an alternative solution to that? That I don't know. So anyway, let's continue here. School districts across the country have sometimes struggled to find ways to boost the performance of Black and Latino students, who nationwide tend to enroll in fewer advanced classes and score lower on standardized tests than white students. Okay, I already read that part. And by the way, again, they conveniently leave out Asian students, who perform the best of all the groups. So really, we should be comparing Black and Asian, but that kind of doesn't fit the narrative. And I see here Wall Street Journal is using their narrative language, not the Wall Street's journals. Maybe the Wall Street Journal has become more left leaning, or very left leaning. There's a term for it. I won't say it, but anyway, that's not the conservative framing. I guess that's what I'm getting at. So article continues here. Creating classes for students of a single race is a strategy that has been used sparingly in public K through 12 education. Are you kidding me? you kidding me? You kidding me? I'm gonna read that again. Creating classes for students of a single race is a strategy that has been used sparingly in public K through 12 education. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry. That's funny. Brown v. Board. You've heard of Brown? It's Brown v. Board, right? I'm pretty sure it's Brownview Board. Was 1955, 56. Uh, Supreme Court uh, says that segregated schools are unconstitutional. so, so what you would do is you would take 1955 or 56, 55, I guess, if you're being charitable, up to, let's say, when you'd have to find out when did affinity groups start happening. Maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. So let's say 2020. So the only time in American history that we've had integrated schools is between 1955 and 2020. That's not exactly sparingly in public K through 12 education. It means public education has been mostly segregationist the entire history of the United States, as my understanding. Now, I'm not saying the United States is a bad place. That's not what I'm saying. So don't misconstrue my words. Right? I'm very pro-American. Right? My flag is red, white, and blue, stars and stripes. But I'm also honest. Right? We don't exactly have the greatest history. Now, we do have a unique history because our leaders are the only ones who asked the question: is this the right thing to do? Should we be enslaving another group of people? Now, in that sense, the United States is just a better country than any other country because we were the ones who sent 600,000 of our young men off to die for the freedom of another group. Well, actually, they were Americans brought here on slave ships, so they're still Americans, right? But the point is a lot of us died for the freedom of other people that lived in this country. So no other country is close. I just want to make that clear. So if I ever make a critique of the United States, just know that it's a critique that's not trying to paint the United States as a bad place. It's not that. Just trying to make things honest. That's all I'm trying to do. All right, so let's continue the article here. When it does happen, it is more often in elective classes or after school programs focused on leadership skills and creating a sense of belonging. Yeah, because they can't do it because it's illegal. They have to make it voluntary. They can't make it. They can't force you to do it in the legal way because that would violate, I believe, it's Section 7 of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. I should actually print that out because it talks about not judging people by their sex, religion, color of their skin, things like that. All the things that you would expect from the MLK Jr. 1960s philosophy, which, by the way, every American now accepts that. And so all this stuff, this is all like bonkers. I was like, wait, what? I thought we were trying to fight against that. So MLK won. I mean, obviously he was killed, but his ideas won. They won the day, right? Victory. What else is there? So again, they can't force you, but they'll kind of force you though. So it's voluntary. Like you should do this because if you don't, we can get rid of you as a teacher, right? That kind of volunteering. All right, so let's continue. Researchers have found some small improvements in grades and retention from such programs. Other studies have shown some improved educational outcomes, such as graduation rates for Black and Latino students taught by teachers of the same race. That's interesting. I actually find that fascinating. Now, my question would be, is that reproducible? But if it's reproducible, that also brings up some really uncomfortable questions. It really does. But again, I doubt that's reproducible. I really doubt it. But I mean, who knows? I mean, my position is still, integration. If people want to integrate, that's probably the optimal position, optimal way to go. So, excuse me. So, article continues here. Public schools have also dabbed with separating students by gender with successful programs. Yeah, there used to be segregated schools, men, boys' schools, girls' schools. I mean, that was pretty common. I mean, I might disagree with that less. I mean, there might be some advantages to that. But I mean, it depends on the design of the system and how you do it, the type of philosophy you implement. But okay, so let's continue. Public schools have also dabbed with separating students by gender with successful programs that, for instance, encourage girls to become engineers. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's all over the place. Stems all over the place for girls and young women. I've never seen a program that promotes or encourages young boys to become engineers. I haven't seen one. There's not one, and I'm pretty sure if there was one, people would accuse it of being sexist, right? I'm not even sure how you could argue with me on that point. I mean, you could try. Go ahead, put that in your comments. Go for it. So we continue here. School districts in Minneapolis. I'm going to have to add Minneapolis to my list. Seattle, have that on my list. San Francisco and Oakland, California, offer optional race-specific elective courses. So I'm going to have to add Oakland and Minneapolis to my list of schools that do this now. Well, a lot of those schools are for algebra. Maybe I should skip them. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because the other lists those are algebra schools. Those are schools for algebra. So I have to make I'll have to make another list. All right. Well, here we go. So federal anti-discrimination laws prevent public schools from mandatorily separating students by race. Yes. Yes, that's what I just said. But education lawyers say optional courses can comply with the law. Yeah, there might be a loophole there. There might be a loophole there, and they're going to take advantage of that. And then get enough people into the system where they become lawyers and policymakers, and then they'll just change the law to mandate it. That's what will happen over the long term. Get ready for that. It's coming down the road. Let's see here. So a quote here from the article: a lot of times within our education system, Black students are expected to conform to a white standard. I've heard that term before, called being white. It's a racist term. Said Dina Luna, who's a racist, who leads Black student achievement initiatives in Minneapolis public schools. Yeah, that's not surprising. That's not surprising at all. Yeah, a lot of these people are bigots. They're pushing these programs. So what do you expect? The district offers middle and high school students electives focused on African American history and social emotional support. I would like to see David Goggins teach that class on social emotional support. If you know who David Goggins is, that's probably laughing right now. Taught by teachers of color. Yeah, I mean, these people are segregationists. That's what they are. George Lincoln Rockwell would agree with this, right? I mean, this is literally the Klan's position. This is their position. This is what they were going for: separation of races, groups. I mean, race is not a real thing, but I mean, human groups. They want to separate us by our skin color, right? Which is the most important thing of us, right? You get an entire group of people who have the same color, same skin color. They're not the same people. Each person there has different ideas about the world. They have different expectations, different dreams, different tastes in music, different tastes in food. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of the common stuff that gets into culture, of course, but a lot of that common stuff actually you can observe across multiple cultures. So anyway, just food for thought. So article continues here. Created in 2015 for Black boys. Man, I hate saying that because they're American. They're young American men. All right, created in 2015 for Black boys. The format has expanded to Black girls and will soon expand to Latino students. Basically, they don't need to create. So I hear this in the right a lot. Well, what would you do if it was a white? What would you do if you're creating a white group? Well, they would lose their minds. But you don't even need to say that because they're doing it anyway by taking out young American kids who happen to have what appears to us Black skin. Let's call them of African descent. Young American kids of Latin descent, Latino descent, whatever terms you want to use. And again, they leave out Indian and Asian students. But once you take everyone out, you're left with a group that is just white, a white group. That's what you're left with. And that's where this is going. So you don't even need to make the argument. Which, by the way, that's not my argument. My argument isn't, oh, well, therefore, since they have it, why can't we have it? That's not my argument. I'm an individualist. You could have the same color as me. I don't care. I mean, I care about my family, but that's because they're my family. I care about my friends. It's because they're my friends. But I can tell you right now, a lot of my friends don't, they have a lot more melanin in their skin than I do. But that's cool. They're still my friends. I love them for it. I don't love them because of their skin color. I love them because they're my friends. We have a lot of us that believe in the same stuff. We have a lot of the same philosophy. These are people that tolerate really interesting conversations. We can disagree on stuff, and the disagreements are fun. I guess what I'm trying to say is my friends aren't idiots. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so let's continue here. So an internal study showed improved attendance for Black boys in the program in 2017, and average GPAs of 2.27, compared with 2.14 GPAs for Black males district-wide. All right, those are terrible GPAs. You got to get those up. My philosophy would get their GPAs up. So, article continues here. The quote, in our spaces, you don't have to shed 1 ounce of yourself because everything about our space is rooted in blackness. Luna said. Yeah, I mean, she's a segregationist. Again, this is George Lincoln Rockwell language. Max Eden, an education researcher at the conservative-leaning American Enterprise Institute, said he believes affinity classes undermine the goal of the Civil Rights Act, which it does. We don't have to believe it. It does. All right, because what Dr. King say? Judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. It's very individualistic, very classically liberal. And it's the optimal position. So the article quotes here, integration is a positive social good, he said. This is the guy from American Enterprise Institute. We want students, and it quotes, we want students to be colorblind and to treat each other only on the basis of who they are as human beings. Yes, that's right. And by the way, with the people, the lady above who said, talking about, everything about our space is rooted in blackness. It's not only segregationist, but it's also anti-human, because she's othering another group. So what are we going to say? Everything about our space is rooted in whiteness? That's dumb. Doesn't even make any sense. No, you're an American. If you want to say you're human first and you want your loyalties to the planet, I get that. I'm down with that. But I'm just saying we have to get to some sort of national pride before we can get to that. But maybe we don't. And I guess that's probably a different argument. Anyways, the article continues here. Educators who have worked on race-specific equity initiatives, there's that word again, say success depends on having broad community buy-in and effective teachers in place. I would say that success depends on your strategy. Depends on your strategy. What is your strategy? And I say this before, and this is really simple. It's easy to overlook, but what time do you wake up in the morning? What does your daily schedule look like? What time do you go to sleep at night? Those would be the 3 questions I would ask. And I bet you a lot of successful people, either celebrities, non-celebrities alike, have a similar schedule. Well, they're similar in the sense that they wake up at a certain time, they have a daily schedule. Schedule's always the same, and then they go to bed at the same time. And of course, they surround themselves with people, right? People who have a success mindset. There is something to that. You are the average of the 5 people around you. Surprise, I'm surrounded mostly by engineers. And I have friends who are not engineers, but for the most part, I'm surrounded by engineers all the time. So obviously, that's advantageous. That's what I would say to a young kid in class. It comes from this, I would say, no, don't worry about your skin color. Surround yourself with this group, and your odds of becoming successful will increase. So I'll read this last paragraph here. Christopher Chapman, who founded a program called Kingmakers of Oakland to help Black boys, said he spends at least a year tilling the soil by building political support with community groups before launching in a new district. Kingmakers partners with the districts in San Francisco, Oakland, and Seattle to offer elective classes that support Black students. All right, so clearly these people are pushing towards segregation. That's what they're trying to do. Segregation will come back, and everyone will ask the question, wait a second, why is Jim Crow back? What's going on here? Because once you get into that, you're going to start getting into, anybody who understands economics, they have a pretty good idea about how resources work. And once you get into this political philosophy of segregationism, the groups are going to start fighting over resources, and then they're just going to use each other's skin color to demonize each other and then take resources. That's what's going to happen. This is a really bad strategy. This is a really bad strategy for success. This article has some other stuff in it, but I'm going to leave it there. I will post the article below the video, and so you can go ahead and read the rest of it. Doesn't look like you need I think usually for the Wall Street Journal you need an account, but for this one you don't. For some reason they left this one open. So that's all I got. I will let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, because it does feed the AI algorithm. And I will talk to you in the next episode.